The KitLocker.com Club Series podcast. Talking everything grassroots.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the KitLocker.com Club Series podcast. Today we're focusing on how to successfully run a girls football club at a grassroots level. I'm Ollie from the marketing team at KitLocker, joined by Ben, new business development manager. And today we've got Michael Taylor from Euxton Girls and Emma Eaton from East Surrey Girls. So I'll leave you guys to introduce yourselves and give us a bit of a background around the clubs that you work with.
I'm Michael. I'm a coach and secretary at Euxton Girls up in Lancashire. Currently, we've got 17 teams, 250 odd girls, a Wildcat Centre, and we just can't wait to get started again. So,
I'm Emma Eaton. I'm the founder, chair and secretary of East Surrey Girls. So we're a football club that was founded in 2018, and we currently have 5 teams, and we also run a Wildcat Centre.
Perfect. Sorry, Michael, I called you Euxton Girls and it's Euxton Girls.
It's all right, everybody does.
There's I suppose there's different ways to interpret how that's spelled. So, cool. I guess I've got a number of topics to go through, so I'll just start from the top and we'll just rattle through them and then just go from there about where that leads to. So first things first then, Michael, I'll aim this at you first. You've got age groups from 5 to 18, I believe I'm right in saying. How did you get from the first single team to getting into those multiple age groups? Well,
it's all about opportunity. Back in 2002, it was tough. It was tough for girls, and when our chairman started it, he started it for his granddaughter that couldn't actually get in into football teams because of boys. So they started with one team, and then it's just grown from there, and then it's just snowballed over the years. We've had school tournaments, we've done all sorts, and it's just got massive. But I think the big draw is with it being a purely female environment and creating the opportunity for girls to come. Yeah.
And Emma, what about you?
I think you're so right, Michael, about the fact because it's a girls only environment. That is the key selling point. And for our club, I coached a team at a boys club, and the team wasn't really a priority for the club. It was kind of seen as an extra addition. It was a nice little thing. And although I wanted to grow it, the club weren't that keen, so we kind of stepped away, and that's where East Surrey Girls sort of was created. And from there, because we had a team of sort of 11 girls, one summer we just ran some free sessions in the park, and we got 5 girls. Next week we got 10 girls, and then it just grew from there. And then that season we entered 2 teams, and then that was sort of how we started. And it's exactly that. It's because it is a girls only environment, and that's what the girls want. We've sort of gone from strength to strength really in those last 3 years.
Do you find with obviously having it being just a girls team, I was just going to say having it in girls in the name of the club, has that opened up any more sponsors? Has that opened up any more doors purely because you're identified as a girls team?
I definitely think that in terms of sponsorship, it does help. I think because brands can see the progression of women and girls football, and it's something they want to get involved in. So I've definitely had conversations with people in the past who said you should take girls out of your name because it sort of separates yourself, and it should be more inclusive, which I do agree. But on the flip side, actually, this is what we do. It's our bread and butter is girls football. Mm-hmm. So why shouldn't we celebrate that? And I think that is something that brands really do buy into.
Yeah.
Just following on from what Emma said there, I don't know what it's like where Emma comes from, but around our area, there's some massive boys clubs, and we're just small compared to that. We just get drowned out. all the pitches are taken, all the schools are taken by clubs with 20, 30 teams. So it's really shows how far we've come to be able to hold our own against bigger boys only clubs. So, but yeah, definitely having that girls in there definitely helps us stand out and keeps that in focus. Where it needs to be.
I suppose that's your brand as well, isn't it? You know, you are a girls team, and that is your brand, and that's what you've got to stay true to. So that was one of the questions that I'd actually got written down. So thanks for that, Ben, about sponsorship. It's fine that you brought it up now, but yeah, it's so what kind of, not to get too, I don't want to get too in depth about like, what sponsorships you've got at the moment and whatnot, but I know looking at it from a boy side of thing, there's a lot of emphasis on it's either like a parent of a player or you're sending really like cold emails or messages out on social media to certain companies that might be local or nationwide or whatever. Is it a little bit different for you guys then with that unique selling point? Are people coming to you and saying, we want to partner with you because you are a girls team?
No, I don't, certainly not as far as we're concerned. It's a constant struggle to get any sponsors. I mean, the amount of emails I send, we've been really lucky. We have most of it comes from parents or somebody they know, or a random email I'll send out and they'll say, yeah, of course, how much do you want, sort of thing. But I'm not getting anything that's specifically because we're a girls' club. It's still the hard work and effort to actually say, come on, we need some help. But it would be nice if people were knocking on the door. But I've not seen that yet.
Yeah, the same goes for us, really. We're quite fortunate. We've got a quite cool sponsor at the moment, Love Corn. Don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's like the corn snack that's like crisps. And they're like a big brand. They're like up there with, like Walker's type vibes. So the fact that they sponsor us is pretty impressive. And they sponsor us really because we are a girls' football club, but it came from a parent. So it is that sort of the thing, like you need that inside contact to get it going. And then sort of they buy into the fact you're a girls' football club.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Surrey are you based, Emma?
Sort of around Red Hill.
So there's a lot of headquarters of big companies around there as well.
Loads.
Yeah. So you've got that melting pot of very much corporate parents and working in the city kind of thing. So the alignment of that sponsor is relatively not easier, but it's more accessible. Potentially up in the northwest, Michael. I think we've got a club in the northwest, Waverton, AFC Waverton, that went to MBNA because they're in that Cheshire area, and they got a club-wide sponsor from MBNA, from the whole like Nike Partner Club pitch, and it got aligned very well. But you just got to knock on not knock on the right doors, just know the right people at times, haven't you?
Yeah, it's difficult, and it's a road I was going down before for looking for a club sponsor, partners, and other bits and pieces, just to try and get that momentum going. Hopefully, once things start getting more back to normal, it will make life a bit easier.
Both got I mentioned it a moment ago. Sorry to jump in there, Michael. But the Nike Partner Club branding, well, not branding, club that you're part of, the community you're part of. I do think with a lot of clubs that we work with, they don't always utilise that name, that brand, that alignment as much as they could do. Now, Emma, you're already at an advantage where you've got Love Corn as the club sponsor, I dare say, but I think clubs can do, and we can always assist with this, is bottle that NPC branding and go out there to get other sponsors on. The way that I go to clubs and say, being part of this community, Nike Partner Club, you're aligning yourself again next to the biggest brand in the world. The club can take that information and then go to a sponsor. You can go Nike Club sponsor and pitch to those, and then that's how clubs do bring it on board. And there has been some great success stories, for example, Waverton. But I think you've got to take that proactive approach sometimes and think, right, let's get the branding done and like get it out there and let's see what comes. But that's the development of grassroots football as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's something that I'm really trying to do, as well as partnerships with, I've not started this yet, player pathways, partnerships, and embrace the whole thing and turn it into not so much a Euxton girls, but as a girls football, in general type of thing, but with the Euxton girls branding. So hopefully, once we start getting more back to normal, we can start really pushing on with all that and getting it out there. So.
Sorry, I digressed there, Ollie.
No, it's all right. But moving on, because there's multiple topics to get through. I'm just conscious of people's time. Talked about it a little bit already, but what kind of barriers to entry do girls have? So if we've got parents listening to this that have got a young girl that wants to get into football, realistically, where do they start trying to identify a club that's local to them?
This is the tricky part. As much as we put it out there, a lot of it, believe it or not, comes from schools and the mates and what the mates doing. We do a lot, especially with Wildcats, pushing it out to all the schools in the area, and we have a lot of success from that. We have a lot of girls. One thing we're really good at is retention from 8 up to 18. So it's that next generation and keep that conveyor belt going. That said, there's a lot of 12, 13, 14-year-olds never done it before, and they just send a random email or whatever, and that's the key part. It's a better opportunity. There's no trials with us. There's no preconceptions. If you want to play, come and play. Try it, see if you like it. If you don't. It's just getting that information and enough visibility for people to make that decision and in the right place, rather than being led down what may be a wrong path to start with elsewhere. But yeah, that's how we work.
I also think I agree with everything you said there, and I think that confidence is also a huge barrier for girls, particularly younger girls, where if they haven't got a friend playing or they don't, there's not opportunities to play in school, they instantly think they're not very good, so that they're not going to be able to do it. And things like Wildcats is brilliant because it is totally a space where everyone is a beginner. It's fun and you just have a good time. But sometimes it's getting the girls actually just giving it a go for the first time. It's that one opportunity that they struggle with. And we've definitely had girls come to Wildcats before who, stand by their mum's side for the whole session because they're so nervous to get going. But once they give it a go, they love it. So it's just that whole confidence thing, I think, that it can be a huge barrier, I guess, at any age group for girls playing football.
Yeah. And then that's what makes it so easy with it being a girls' environment. There's less pressure, everybody's friendly, it's nowhere near as competitive as boys, and everybody's up against each other. It's just, it makes life a lot easier for anybody that wants to start, in my view.
Do you find as well that, this may be a question also, apologies, but you find that the girls coming to a session for the first time, it is an easier transition or more accommodating, comfortable if it's a female coach?
Yeah, that for us it's difficult. We don't have a lot of female coaches, and I'm really trying to push that to get it out there. Not that it matters, because all the coaches that we do have, they all do a fantastic job. They're all welcoming. There's zero pressure to anybody coming in, regardless of who's coaching it. That said, we can't be a female coach or that role model or whatever. As good as some of our coaches are, and as far as I can go, I can do everything. But that's the one thing. What we do need more than anything else is that female role model in that position to do it. But that said, we've got plenty of the guys that we are doing it, and I couldn't ask for more from them. But yeah, definitely, that is definitely something that we need more of.
Yeah, we're in a similar situation as well, where we're a club. I'm the only female coach in our coaching team, and they're all the guys are brilliant, but it would be nice to have more female coaches. And we do like surveys with our players, and we try to find out like what they like about the club, what they would like to improve. And one of the things is to see more female coaches. And it's just, we know that that's what people want, or that's what the girls want. It's just actually putting that into practice. But I think that potentially could make a huge difference, particularly with something like Wildcats. I think teams maybe it's not as important, but if we could get more female coaches in Wildcats, it just creates an environment where they feel more safe, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be difficult. And touching on the female coaching perspective, is that means traditionally it's a parent, if not it's a person graduating from school or university. So if you're looking at the parent age, it's 30, 35, I'm just going stereotypical, parent, myself as well. But if you look back 15 years ago when that parent may have played sport, there wasn't as much women and girls football available, was there? Therefore, there isn't that transition into coaching. Therefore, there isn't as many available coaches to take it up. So it's hard. Where do you look to recruit, I guess, new female coaches, colleges and such as well?
Yeah, it's an interesting point that, like, so what we're currently looking at now with our Wildcats coordinator is getting like year 9 students who are doing Duke of Edinburgh's and other things like that to come and start them on that journey of come in, do Wildcats, progress, be an assistant coach, and work the way up, as well as our more senior players as they're coming to the end. Look at start giving a bit back. But having said that, the coaches, all the coaches that we do have, generally you only do it because your daughter's doing it. So you've already got that. You're not coming in cold. You're already on the side of the girls straight away because you know what they're up against and everything else. So that it makes life a lot easier. But that's the sort of thing that we're looking at down the line to get more girls back into it and moving up it through the teams ages. But yeah, it's difficult.
It's something we're trying to focus on loads at the moment. Our club is that, if we need some coaches, we do rely on the parents, but why do we always rely on the dads? Why do we not ask the mums? And we're doing a lot of work at the moment with the mums at our club to try and give them confidence. And we recently ran a session that shows the mums that you have all of these skills. What the only aspect of the 4-corner model that you don't potentially have is the technical side. You have all of the social and all the other aspects. So it's just trying to change their mindset, really, as to say, well, coaching isn't really about the drills as such or the how you actually kick a ball. It's all of the additional things that go with it.
Brilliant. Quite a different way of working there. You've got the top tip from this point. Obviously, we're doing this for things to take away. Is Michael, you're looking at obviously working with the youth of today and working with the education. And Emma, you're working with the mums that are around the club, and it's great to see how you've got those two different ideas.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I say, at the minute, it probably works better for us to look at the younger age. We've got a lot of girls at the older end who's interested in it, and they're probably more likely to do it than mums are. Mums generally just take the kids, drop them off, stand and watch sort of thing. But it's something we'll try and do further down the line maybe. But yeah, definitely, we'll focus on that one for the minute.
Well, I think the good thing is, like Emma, from your perspective as well, there's a lot of information out there now that's accessible for people to look at drills, and whether you use a subscription-based thing where there's drills that are there for you, or there's stuff on YouTube and Twitter and elsewhere. So I think that when you're talking about it, just missing that technical side of it, I suppose it is there for them to learn if they want to, which I suppose is a really good thing. But hopefully from this anyway, once we put this out to the audience, there's people in the area of where you guys are based, and they want to get involved that are on the female side. So fingers crossed on that front. Taking it back a step, so barriers to entry for a girl coming into playing for a club. If you're a parent and your girl, there's maybe like a couple of girls and they've not got a girls' club in their area, and you're maybe looking at setting up a team from scratch, what barriers do they have, and what kind of tips would you give them? So if you were in that position yourselves with what you know now, what would you tell them?
Just opportunity. Forget about winning. Just get them girls in to make a team and make it enjoyable. Start off with that's the first thing that I would say. Just get enough girls to make a team and make it enjoyable. Did you align yourself with the county FA, Michael? Yeah. Did you go and did the women? What county FA? Lancashire or Manchester? Lancashire. Yeah. So the women and girls officer at the county FA helped develop the club, or was it all already? Back in the day, they did. that I find they're all busy. Everybody's busy, but I find you get things done if you just do it yourself quicker and talk to the right people. Otherwise, you can be down the line and no further on. So yeah, the women's and what do you call it, LFA women's and girls rep is really good. But like I say, Lancashire's a massive area. It's probably the biggest county in the country for football. So yeah, like I said, they are involved. We get them involved in all sorts, and they know everything that's going on, and we ask advice. But generally, we'll just get things moving ourselves and push on from there. It just saves a lot of time.
Yeah, from our perspective, I'd say there's two sides of it. I agree. The fun factor is the biggest thing. If you've only got 2 or 3 girls, if you make their sessions as fun as possible, they will bring their friends and they will talk about it at school, and that's just how it happens. So that would be the biggest thing in terms of the players. The other thing, I guess, that we did was focus really on the community that you're involved in, whether you can go to community events, or we have a sports festival, for example. Loads of different things you could get involved in. We just had to get our name out there as much as possible, and people would just word of mouth really just hear about what we're doing and want to come along and joining, and having a really good team of people around you that can support that journey, because it is really tough at the beginning. That first bit where you don't really know who you are, don't really know what you're doing, it can be quite a challenge, and I definitely faced the challenge of other existing clubs around me just saying, well, just join us. Why are you starting something new? There's no point in starting something new. There's so many clubs in our area. But for us, or for me at least, the club I wanted to create didn't align with their philosophies or their ethoses. So I just wanted to create something new. So also just believe in what you want to do and believe in yourself and what your purpose is.
Yeah, no, that's really, really good information, I think, for people that are maybe looking at doing that, because I'm sure there are areas in the country where it's underrepresented, and there's girls that want to play that probably can't at the minute. So I think those are really good places to start. We touched on it slightly about pathways, and Michael, I know that you've mentioned obviously about the older girls looking at getting into that coaching side. I'm interested to see and hear what both of your kind of ideas are around pathway, and where do girls go to once they hit that barrier of outgrowing the age groups that you guys run. Is there an adults team in the area? Do you guys have one yourself? Do they go into coaching? What is it?
Well, yeah, we've all just started just during pandemic last year, actually. In about June time, we got everything together for a new open age team. They've just they've just never been able to get going at all with everything that's gone on. So obviously, our now will be under 18s. There's somewhere for them to go on, but off the back of that as well, I'm looking at putting provision for to move on to BTEC colleges in sport for those that want it and get to play football as well as part of, and do the coaching and everybody. And then, like I said, it's just having the opportunities there for anybody that wants to continue, really. So that the open age is going to be the next step after the under 18s, probably. Maybe under 21s, I don't know yet. We'll see what happens. But obviously, that age now, people are going off to college and stuff. So it's just having that opportunity, whether it be at Man City, Everton, or wherever, where they do the BTECs and get to play football at the same time. Then that's the sort of partnerships that we're going to be looking for, and see what we can offer the girls once they get to that point. So.
Yeah, Surrey girls, we very different really. We kind of know our specialty is 6 to 16-year-olds, so we don't have any plans to extend that. So we've partnered with a sister club, Ashmount Lee FC, who are a new club will be a new club this year. They're starting in September, and they're a women's club ran by women for women. So they're really inspiring, and we know them on a personal level because we've had some of them come and coach for us in the past. So yeah, we decided to partner up with them. So there is a pathway so that once the girls sort of graduate as such from East Surrey Girls, they can go on to play for Ashmount. And the idea is that we'd get some of their players to come and coach for us as well. So there is more continuation, and like the players know some of their players and they're used to them. And yeah, we just wanted to offer a different opportunity away from East Surrey Girls, because we know like in the title it's East Surrey Girls, and when you get to that sort of age like 16, 17, well, I did anyway, I sort of didn't count myself as a girl. You want to be thought of as a woman, so let's create an opportunity where they can actually be that.
No, brilliant. That's again, you've both got your you're right, you know, your colours nailed to the mast to an extent there and what you want to do next. But it being stable, I think is great. That they've actually, you know, they've got a route. It's not when I hit 16 and I finished playing football myself, I was like, what do I do now? I don't feel like I'm grown up enough to play adult football, but I can't. I'm now too old to play the age group that I was at, and I was in limbo for 2 years, and then fell out of love with playing football, and then, you know, the side effects of that, you know, of exercising less, you're not socialising as much with a group of people that you don't see at school. So the fact that you've got that, I think it's brilliant. Sorry, Ben, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, from obviously potentially very different answers, but what are the leagues like for the open age group? For you, Michael, and what do you know what it's like for Ashmount as well, Emma? Is there many teams that are within that open age leagues?
Yeah, ours is the one that we've got several options really. There's we're quite lucky that under the Lancashire FA there's a recreational league, which is what it is, just recreational, and there's I call it a proper league. You know, you get fined and all sorts in it, so it's just gauging the feeling of what the girls want to do, and you know, can either rearrange times or whatever, whereas the other one's fixed. So it's that understanding. Are you just coming for fun, or do you want to give it the full thing? So yeah, we've got plenty of options, and it's all the way from, I don't know, Preston all the way up to Carlisle. So so there's a lot of teams in between. So yeah, plenty of options for everybody. And even one of our teams now is playing in a boys' league, first time ever.
That was one of my questions, actually.
So yeah, there's plenty of options. So it's one good thing about Lancashire. We're not short of places to go, which is good.
Yeah, and for Ashmount, I'll be honest, I'm not totally sure, but I know that they are the only sort of proper, as you say it, like proper team in our local area for girls or women to play. There's loads of rec teams around which are brilliant, but they will be the only proper team. So I'm not quite sure, to be honest, how many women's teams are in sort of Surrey or that local area. I know definitely the league we play in, which is the Surrey County Women and Girls, there's definitely not women's teams, so they're not playing in that league. So yeah, it's just quite interesting. And I think it's the other thing as well is for women's rec football, where I am anyway, that from the most part starts when you're like 30 plus. So I do think there's a huge gap for girls on the recreational side when between sort of 16 to 30, because I totally understand why women's rec teams are 30 plus, because that's their target audience. They're for women who maybe haven't played before or just wanted to have a bit of fitness, which is fine. But I do, well, for where we are in Surrey, I do think there is a gap for that age group.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is with our open age team. There's a lot of the girls that finished with us at 16 and have done nothing till they're like 21, 22 now, and then we started that team and they're coming back. So yeah, I think you're right. I think there's definitely a gap there. So we'll hopefully we can fill that somewhere.
Cool.
You guys have, you know, as clubs, been really well established now. One question that I have got with that is, how has participation changed over the years? Obviously, now I think it was only last week that Sky Sports, it might have even been this week, that Sky Sports announced the WSL TV rights. What kind of impact has that had in like the media coverage? Is that really increased participation tenfold?
I was only talking about this the other day. I think for us, it's usually like my girls, my team. They don't. I keep telling them, watch football, do this, and they don't. They don't watch it. They don't know. We were asked to do an interview about Black Lives Matters, and all the girls didn't have a clue and what they're doing, what footballers are doing, and that. But now women's football's coming more to the fore, and we've done some chat sessions. We had Lizzie Waldy from Crystal Palace with the girls, and Vicky Jepson chatting to the girls. They're really starting to take more notice. So hopefully, with more exposure and more push across the mainstream, more girls will take notice of it. I think last time it was the Euros. After the Euros, we had a big World Cup. We had a big push on, and it's the Euros next year. So hopefully that'll cause increase again. But generally, yeah, I don't. Majority of ours, aside from a few that I know of, don't really know that much about what's going on in world of football. Certainly not in my lot anyway.
Yeah, I think our players are 50-50 really. 50% of them watch it and 50% don't. But those that do watch it, for the most part, watch women's football, which is quite good. So I know when I played, probably around, 2007-ish, I'd never ever watched a women's football match. Like, probably I couldn't even name you a player at that point. So the fact that even now, we're quite fortunate because we're quite close to Chelsea, we're quite close to Crawley, Brighton played down the road from us in Crawley. So we're quite fortunate that we have opportunities to go and watch live matches when you can, obviously. We have quite a good partnership with Brighton, and they sort of create opportunities for our players to go and be ball girls at matches, and we get free tickets in blocks so we can all go together as a club. So actually going to watch live women's football is something that's quite frequent for our players, and I do think that the more they go, the more they buy into it. And something like I agree, the Women's World Cup in 2019 was a game changer in a sense of how well England did. And I think if England were to win a major tournament, that would just push girls and women's football like out of the stratosphere. It would be brilliant. So I do think it has a huge impact, and our participation grew from major tournaments. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with the Euros next year as well.
So like, quite a different question from me. Ollie's point initially was regarding participation and how it's changing as if the exposure of WSL increased. What about COVID? Now, obviously COVID's meant there's been a lot more sedimentary lifestyles, a lot more less getting out there, less social. Do you think, or has it increased participation? One, do you think there's going to be more girls turning up in potentially at older ages? And two, have you seen that yet?
Not the older ages I haven't seen yet. The Wildcats, I've already started advertising for that. That's already going through the roof. I think we're up to something like 40 now. So I'm gonna have to think about putting extra sessions on, because we've only got so much AstroTurf. But so that's already on the rise since we advertised that again. It sounds a bit daft, really. I'm not worried about new girls coming, because they will. It's retention of the ones that haven't kicked a ball since last November.
Yeah.
So as far as I know, there's nobody not coming back across the club so far. But obviously we've not got back yet, and everybody's really excited. So so I'm not worried about recruiting new ones at all. It's more retention at this point, and what happens as we come out of get back playing again. So
I would agree. Our players, in terms of new players, we've had loads of interest during sort of the lockdowns in the last year for new players looking for a different opportunity. But it's that retention, and I've definitely been in contact with a few parents whose daughters aren't as confident, or they don't really believe in their own ability, so they're so worried and like have really bad anxiety about coming back because they don't think they're going to be able to do it, and they've lost all that confidence that they've spent years building. So like we're trying to put on one-to-one sessions with them to really give them a focused session just dedicated to them, where there's no pressure before or in addition to their own training that will be starting up soon. So I do think, retention is going to be a huge issue, and we'll see obviously with the football season coming to an end who actually carries on next year, because that might be where people drop off, which would be quite unfortunate. Because there's not a huge amount we can do, but it's in terms of new players, I don't think it's not really impacted us really, COVID.
I didn't think of the retention side of things, to be fair, but as you both just pointed out, that's quite a key thing. I've been more thinking that there'd be more people wanting to do more sport because of such, no sport in the past 18 months, 12 months.
I think we're all chomping at the bit, aren't we? Back to being able to play regularly, knowing that we're going to complete a season and there's going to be fixtures and everything. So roll on the 29th. Emma, the way that you introduced yourself at the start of this, there was multiple job roles within the club, and I presume you've got, you work alongside this, obviously. Is this basically a full-time job in itself?
Yeah, 100%. But it's something that I love doing, so it doesn't feel like a full-time job. Well, it is and it isn't, to be fair. So I guess when we started out the first year or 2 years, it was a full-time job. But as we've grown, we've got more people on board within our committee, and we have got more coaches and more people buying into what we do. So it's the actual workload is less, but we're just doing more. But it is. I would say it's a full-time job, but it's something. If it's something you love doing, it doesn't feel like it is a full-time job, and it feels like it's just so positive all the time, and something you actually want to spend all your time doing.
Yeah, I think you take away that job element from it, don't you? When it's something that you enjoy. I think me and Ben probably think that about Kit Locker. When our employees are listening to this, I hope that goes down well. Michael, Michael, what you said about having all the other coaches and stuff, does that spread the workload and the responsibilities of the club a little bit better when you've got a good group of people that are involved?
I think we've got. I mean, from our committee, it's a relatively small committee, but we've got a fantastic chairman. He's been doing it for 20 years. Next year. He just lets us get on with it. We've got a fantastic vice chairman, our treasurer, our child welfare, and the biggest thing from everybody else is they just buy into it. Everything that we're doing, everybody's all aiming towards the same thing. There's no egos. There's nobody hell bent on winning trophies and wants the best of everything. We just it's just one big team really, which is fantastic. There is plenty of work to be done, but it's that ease of how it gets done as opposed to this is what we're doing. We're going to do this. Yep, cool, no problem. Then everybody just gets on with it. So it's really good to be a part of them. And like Emma said, it's not really a job. It's you just do it. You've got 250 girls relying on you all to get out playing every week. So it's
interesting as well that you've got East Surrey Girls that was set up in 2018. Is that right? And then 20-year-old Euxton Girls. And both are girls teams, clubs, should I say? Sorry. So it works. Obviously, from your side, I mean, it works, but then you've got that evidence, that historical evidence, so to speak, that it shows it works as well. But then even with the elite side of things, I know financially they've struggled, but Doncaster Bells, they were the girls or women's club at the time 8 years ago. As I mentioned, financially the things have changed, but they were solely a women's football club and subsequently girls teams as well. And even back in, like I say, years ago, that was a model that worked. So it's great that it does work. not work, it's successful, and you don't need to rely on the lads. Is probably where I'm saying meaning.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Going back to the how do you run a successful girls football team then? I think there's two major takeaways from what you guys have both said, and that is, one, enjoy it, and also two, have people bought into it. And I think that if you've got those two things, you probably are on the right track of making it a sustainable club. One thing, I'm not turning this negative in the slightest, but I imagine that you've had issues, like we've all have problems in, getting the club to where it is to today. You are both successful, but what has been the major issue that you faced, that you've overcome, or you're still overcoming now? What's kind of like been the main thing that that you identified as being, this is something that we need to get right to carry on?
I think the biggest thing for us at the minute is facilities. It's the one single biggest thing that's stopping us from expanding further. Like I said, we're in the middle of some really big boys clubs, and there's all the schools and AstroTurf and everywhere else. It's just taken over by 20 to 30 teams. Part of our area, our pitches were taken over by housing development, so we've had that cut down from 3 pitches to 2. And luckily, we've managed to secure a school to move our younger teams onto. So that's the single biggest challenge for us at the minute is just getting more facilities for us to keep growing and keep going on.
I would say for us is coaches. Obviously, you do rely on parents a lot, and particularly with something like Wildcats, you have this group of girls, and some of them are only there if they're there for a year, they get to a point where they want a new challenge, they want to go into a team. So you create a new team, but then you're stuck with that challenge of, well, who's going to run it? And it happens to us every season. Is you've really got to sell it, or you've got to use your sales techniques to get a parent to buy into it. And it's that whole thing about commitment and flexibility and how much they want to give. And for us, that's just been a challenge for us, and we haven't really found a solution in terms of like the best way to go about it. At the moment we just approach the parents that seem the most proactive, but then again it goes back to that whole thing of, well, we're approaching the dads, why we're not approaching the mums, and so it's a massive piece of work. But that, for the most part, that's the thing that stops us creating more and more new teams, because we just need people to run them.
Within the customers that we work with at Kitlocker and the network of people that I know across football, I think that's quite a resounding thing across football, is who can run the teams if a dad, for example, doesn't want to. Now, I'm just going to speak male and female football, but one thing that clubs have started to do, and notice more clubs have started to do, is the more coaching companies that are now coming through, they're then aligning themselves with a grassroots club, aligning themselves with a coaching company to then run the teams, which, as long as the coaching company buys into the club, you're going to get that streamlined approach. The club gets a manager or coach for the team. Is that something that you'd ever look at, or do you feel that you're passing the reins on a little bit too much?
We've definitely thought about it before, because I know clubs locally that do the same thing. The only thing with that is that by our club being of like volunteers or people, for example, whose daughter plays, it sort of creates like this community, and people really feel like one big family. And if you're getting coaches in from external, I don't think there's an issue with it, but there could be that barrier where that community feel might get lost.
Yeah.
As long as obviously you'd have to guarantee they buy into your ethos and to what you're trying to sell, essentially. So that would be the only caveat with that. But I guess it depends on the company. It depends on how you approach it. But yeah, it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really difficult. Like I say, it sounds like a cliche, but it's more than a club. It's like a community. For somebody to come in out of the blue and just not be part of it for so long, it's difficult to do. But having said that, if it's the right people at the right time, then it's obviously something that you consider. But yeah.
Guys, I've got 11 discussion points and I've ticked them all off. I really, really appreciate your insight and your feedback. It's been really enlightening. I think it'll go a long way for people that are looking to get into playing or setting up a club, having your expertise on this. So I really appreciate it. Before we shut off the recording, Ben, is there anything else that you want to ask?
I was actually going to suggest to the guys here, is there any like summary or final points you'd like to put out there for best practice to people listening?
No, well, one of the things that we've just started doing is, and I would really encourage this, and it all got stopped because of the pandemic, is get the girls involved in your youth council. Get a youth council, get them what they want from the club and how to run, and what they want to how to run it, what to have, decide their own team names, kits, whatever they want. let the kids have the input.
Brilliant.
Youth council, and that would be my advice.
Brilliant.
I definitely agree with that, because that's something we do at our club as well. Was we just you got to listen to the players. At the end of the day, they're the ones that are playing. They're the ones that are actually putting in the effort. Although we all do put in effort as well, but they're the ones running around, and it's an opportunity for them. So why are all these adults making the decisions? The kids should make the decisions, right? That just makes sense. So that would be, I agree, that would be one for me. And I guess the other one would be like, just be super adaptable and creative and how you do things. Like, just because something's been done before or that's the way it's always been done doesn't mean that's the right way. So just, yeah, I guess take in culture and society and everything that's going on around you, and just be adaptable to that and to what best suits the girls.
Exactly. Like I say, what works for my team doesn't work for our other 16. All the coaches do what they see fit on whatever day. If they can see the girls can't be bothered, just give them a ball and they'll go and play or whatever after a tough day at school. But yeah, definitely let them call the shots.
I think as well, one probably compiling both of that is what works in a boys' football club that someone may have come from or been witness to may not work in a girls' football club, and that's the main reason why you're doing what you're doing, why we're on this call, is webinar, is because it's a girls' football club.
Yeah, it's different. I much prefer the girls' football to the boys. It sounds really selfish, but it's a lot purer. There's no rolling about on the floor. There's no arm flailing. They say sorry to each other when they've cropped each other, sort of thing. It's a lot more, how can I say, mouldable, as opposed to what all the boys kicking each other in playgrounds and elsewhere and God knows what else. Whereas the girls, they're just an absolute pleasure, and they really take everything on board and do the best. But yeah, I'd coach girls any day a week.
I think that probably does come from watching the pro game as well, and like you said about the girls not watching it as much, they just want to play. So
exactly, yeah.
Well, guys, absolute pleasure, and on behalf of everybody that's listening to this, and obviously myself and Ben and everyone at Kitlock, I really appreciate your time. So if anyone's got any feedback that's listening to this or they want to get in touch, just give us a shout. So thank you very much.
Yeah, cool, no worries, thank you.
The kitlocker.com Club Series podcast. Talking everything grassroots.